Today we have updates on Crystal Lake, a wild new thriller from Russel Crowe, David Cronenberg's new movie, The Shrouds, and the Escape from New York Requel trilogy. They say down in Florida, if you wear a shirt with pineapples on it, it means you want to swing, and no, I'm not talking about the swing set. Thank God I live in Cleveland. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the horror updates. Hey everybody, before we get into today's updates, I real quickly want to salute my patrons out there. Without you all, I wouldn't be able to continue this goofy little show, and I couldn't be more thankful. It's because of my channel members and patrons that I get to upload as frequently as I do and make short films like the slasher I'm currently in post-production for. I can't wait for you all to see it, and I couldn't have done it without your support. Please consider signing up for my Patreon today by clicking the link in the description of this video or clicking the join button on this page to become a channel member. Thank you all again for keeping this page alive. Now let's get into the horror movie updates. 4 years ago, Russel Crowe starred in the unlikely hit Unhinged from director Derek Bort. It's Russel Crowe being a maniac driven to insanity by road rage. It's so worth your time on so many levels. Now Crowe and Bort are re-teaming to make the upcoming thriller film Bear Country. Sadly, no, it is not about Russel Crowe transforming into a mutant bear. Deadline gave us the real plot description yesterday that reads, Crowe will play aging but formidable club owner Manko Kapak, who has been robbed by a masked gunman. Now his aspirations of selling his club and riding off into the sunset alongside his girlfriend appear more distant than ever. Cartel bosses are breathing down his neck, and a young upstart has been posing as the new guy in town, eager to purchase the club. Director Derek Bort made an interesting comment about his upcoming film, saying, after the great experience we shared on Unhinged, I've been looking for another project with Russel, one that would allow him to show more of what so many people, including myself, loved so much about Jackson Healy in The Nice Guys, and we both immediately knew that Bear Country was the one. I want to take a second to say that The Nice Guys is criminally underrated. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was a Pulp Fiction knockoff after my first watch, but now that I've watched it a few more times, it's really grown on me. Also, if you're just now a fan of Ryan Gosling after Barbie, you should add this to your watch list immediately. Getting back on track here, Russel Crowe has been making some big strides in the horror genre lately. He's in multiple possession flicks, like the upcoming meta horror The Exorcism or The Pope's Exorcist, that is soon becoming a franchise. Now he's facing the real-life terror of the cartel in the upcoming Bear Country thriller. That's a weird sentence. I will certainly be seated for all of these zany projects. The master of body horror himself, David Cronenberg, has a brand new film debuting at Cannes Film Festival later this year, titled The Shrouds. The next movie from David Cronenberg is being described as Vincent Cassel will play Karsh, an innovative businessman and grieving widower, who builds a novel device to connect with the dead inside of a burial shroud. This burial tool, installed at his own state-of-the-art, though controversial cemetery, allows him and his clients to watch their specific departed loved ones decompose in real time. Karsh's revolutionary business is on the verge of breaking into the international mainstream when several graves within his cemetery are vandalized and nearly destroyed, including that of his wife. While he struggles to uncover a clear motive for the attack, the mystery of who wrought this havoc and why drives him to reevaluate his business, marriage, and fidelity to his late wife's memory, as well as push him to new beginnings. Sandrine Holt plays a mysterious woman, the wife of a billionaire, who contacts Castle's Karsh about a strange project involving her husband. I feel like this mysterious billionaire is the one behind trashing the graveyard. They kind of gave that away in the plot description, in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to see on September 25th when this one comes out. A new poster came out for the film today as well that is giving me some heavy Dummy by Portishead vibes. Gotta love that blue light. Mwah! As a lot of you know, I am a huge fan of the Cronenberg family of filmmakers. David's son Brandon has made some of my favorite films of the decade, with both Possessor and Infinity Pool easily making that list. Caitlin Cronenberg has just stepped into the feature film world as well with this year's Humane. I loved David's last feature, Crimes of the Future, which was a reimagining of one of his old short films. I personally thought it was really powerful, if not super abstract as well. It was also brimming with body horror, which really scratched an itch for me. The Shroud seems to be more of a grief-focused drama, but you are going to see decomposing bodies in these graves. I mean, it's Cronenberg after all. Of course we're gonna see that shit. It's gonna be gross, but it's also gonna be emotional. It'll have multiple angles to it, I can already tell. I am very excited to see what this film is all about, coming out in September. Or if you're going to Cannes Film Festival in May, I'm jealous. A few days ago, the horror community was up in arms when we heard from a third-party source that Crystal Lake, the new Friday the 13th series coming from Peacock, was apparently canceled. Thankfully, the wonderful crew over at Bloody Disgusting clarified that the show had not been canceled, rather retooling the show's creative force. Yesterday, we finally figured out what was going on here. Brian Fuller, the original showrunner for the series, announced his departure from the Peacock original. Posting to both Twitter and Instagram, Fuller writes, "Adapting classic horror is something I have some experience with. These shows require a vision that elevates and transforms, as well as delivers what audiences have come to expect, which is an ambitious and risky endeavor. It requires people to take that leap with me. When it works, as with Hannibal, the results can be powerful for the storytellers and the audience. I couldn't be more proud of the work my co-showrunner Jim Danger Gray and I were able to accomplish with our brilliant writing staff despite the challenges we faced. For reasons beyond our control, A24 has elected to go a different way with the material. We hope the final product will be something Friday the 13th fans all over the world will enjoy." Damn, if that last sentence there wasn't a massive middle finger to A24, I don't know what is. This dude is pissed. I have so many thoughts running through this brain of mine. Although it comes off as a little arrogant to me, Brian Fuller does have a point when he says that he has experience turning popular horror IPs into really good television shows. Hannibal is, in my opinion, one of the only good series based on a popular horror franchise. A lot of these series end up becoming mockeries of the movie franchises that they're based on. The Chucky show and Scream Season 3 especially. Considering that poor track record, I really only had faith in Crystal Lake because Brian Fuller was attached to it. Even then though, I did have some concern with Crystal Lake. I remember all the way back when it got announced, there was some confusion on what the show would end up being about in the first place. It was initially described as an expanded prequel that would focus on Pamela Voorhees, Jason's mom. Adrienne King, who plays the original final girl Alice in the first movie, was also said to have a recurring role. I've seen Friday fans defend the idea of a Jason-less Friday property that would once again put the focus on Pamela, but I can't see that being satisfying for the majority of fans who have been clamoring to see the hockey mask wearing shithead back on the big screen for 15 years. Again, this is totally speculative because we had producers promise us that they could use anything from the Friday the 13th franchise. I don't think they would say that if they weren't going to use Jason in some capacity. My fear now though is that A24 has opted to go down this route where this show only focuses on Pamela Voorhees and maybe Jason is just some side character that doesn't really get to shine. I think the diehard Friday the 13th fans might enjoy that, but I also feel like there's some people out there that just wouldn't even give it a shot. Look at Halloween Ends. I know that there's a vocal minority on Twitter that absolutely loves this movie and talks about it every single day, but the majority of people just didn't care for that one. Some people need a reminder that Twitter isn't real life. Halloween Ends ended up being the least successful entry in the new trilogy, and many franchise fans weren't crazy about the decision to focus almost entirely on a new killer. It would be a similar situation here if we put all of the focus on Pamela Voorhees. And listen, I know there's some people out there that would love to see Pamela's story. Hell, I'm intrigued too as a Friday fan. But once again, to compare this to David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy, they opted to do Halloween Ends at the end, this weird idea that they probably had in the back of their brains since the 2018 film came out. I'm telling you, they did that on purpose. They kicked off that trilogy with Halloween 2018, a movie that feels and flows a lot like the original 78 classic. That movie was wildly successful and made over $200 million at the box office. You can't just come out the gate with an entirely new formula and pitch it to franchise fans like it's something that they're used to. You have to win them over first. This is just gonna feel like a dirty trick to some. Now, I know I sound like such a traditionalist, but I also don't want the same formula we got from the 80s Friday movies either. I don't want to see a show that's filled with shallow counselor characters flashing their tits and dying either. I think the best route for this show is not to tell the story of Pamela Voorhees, but to evolve the formula of the sequels into something modern and slightly more sophisticated. Make the counselor characters interesting, tell a story with them that's deeply emotional, and then have them die at the hand of Jason. The biggest worry I have about all this, though, is that they come out the gate with this super weird idea and then franchise fans just lose interest immediately, and that's all we get from the Friday revival. That would suck. I think if we give the fans something familiar right out the gate with something like Halloween 2018, just a back-to-basics Jason movie that is modernized a bit. We give them that first, and then we can do the weird Pamela series that some will appreciate. Say what you want about David Gordon Green's trilogy. I mean, I can hate on it all day. It doesn't matter, though. Halloween Ends was still a successful film because they did it the way that they did it. Win the fans over, then throw your weird idea out there, and maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. Also, I just want to say before I wrap this up, I love you, A24. Please don't be mad at me. I just want you guys to succeed. As the fellas from Pink Floyd once said, if the band you're in starts playing different tunes, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon. I don't care how cringe that was, it's so relevant to this situation. Amidst the hype for Scream 6, it was announced that Radio Silence would be attached to a new trilogy of Escape from New York films. The announcement seemed to have came and went, and then there wasn't really too many updates on it moving forward. Yesterday, though, Tyler Gillette gave us the unfortunate announcement that Radio Silence has left that project. Talking with comicbook.com, Gillette confirms they are no longer developing those movies, saying, "We are not, unfortunately. I think titles like that bounce around for a while, and I think they've tried to get that off the blocks a few times. I think it's just ultimately a tricky rights issue thing. There's a clock on it, and we just weren't in a position to make the clock. But who knows? I think in hindsight, it feels crazy that we would think we would, post-Scream, step into a John Carpenter franchise. You never know, there's still interest in it, and we've had a few conversations about it, but we're not attached in any official capacity. I'm a huge fan of Radio Silence. I think they have yet to miss. I would even go so far as to say that their 2019 effort, Ready or Not, is a modern horror classic. In a lot of ways, though, I felt a shift in their career with their latest film, Abigail, and their recently announced projects. They just teamed up with Project X Entertainment and MRC to produce horror films, with Ready or Not 2 likely being one of them. They are only attached to that project in a producer role as well. Adam Robital, who directed The Taking of Deborah Logan and Insidious: The Last Key, will be directing the sequel. It seems as if they're slipping into more of this producer role, which isn't a bad thing at all. It reminds me a lot of Seth Rogen's current career shift, where he's gone from making like comedy movies every year to producing shows like The Boys and Preacher. It does make me sad to see them getting away from directing, but I will be seated for all of these weird projects that they end up producing, especially Ready or Not 2. Even though I'm not crazy about Escape from New York getting 3 more movies, I'd love to see Radio Silence's take on it. Maybe not 3 movies, but maybe 1. What do you guys think about today's updates, though? Which one has you the most excited? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Go ahead and hit that little red button and subscribe to this page right now, or I swear to God, I am going to poop aggressively all over your driveway. If you have a driveway, if you don't, I'm gonna find a driveway, I'm gonna shit all over it. I'm gonna wipe my ass on concrete. I don't care if I start bleeding. Thank you all again for watching this, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.